I intended to interview you because you are an interesting character, and I was going to interview you at the end of the year, but I didn't know you were going to be in town. So here we are. So, well, look, welcome to the Pagey train. I've got with me today Matthew Lechen.
Hello.
A total character from Western Sydney. So, welcome, Matthew.
Thank you.
So we're here to talk about sci-fi today.
Science fiction.
Because Matt is a bit of a science fiction buff, to say the least.
A little bit.
I've certainly had a lot of conversations with him in the past about sci-fi, being a bit of a sci-fi nut myself. So, Matt, favourite sci-fi? What's your first? What's your top?
You can't do favourite sci-fi. Doing favourite.
Well, not sci-fi. What's your favourite three exhibits of sci-fi? How about that? Movies, books,
all right.
comics, well, whatever your forte.
All right. First one, obviously, book included.
Yeah.
2001. Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick. They did that simultaneously, effectively.
Oh man, it's a big deal. Like it's a big film.
Well, 2001 was based off Arthur C. Clarke's short story, The Sentinel. Mm-hmm. And that came out maybe like 5-10 years before 2001.
When did 2001 come out? Was it
2001 came out?
Is that 50s?
No, it was 60s. It came out a year before the Man on the Moon. It came a year before Man was Land on the Moon.
No, but didn't the movie come out a year before?
Yes, because but they were writing at the same time.
Because there was a really profound thing about it, because no one had ever photographed the entire Earth before.
Yeah.
And in the film, when they go to the moon, they look back at the Earth and you can see it in the background.
Not only that, it was also the landscape of the moon itself. So the moon itself had never been portrayed in that way. Like you got to remember, like the portrayal of the moon, the way that it started in science fiction was in film, in media print was the Lumieres. Mm-hmm. When they did the man, what was it called? The Man on the Moon, whatever it was called. When
the old film, the Lumiere brothers.
The Lumiere brothers.
Yeah, that's right. So they did the was it Man on the Moon?
It was something like that. It was Man on the Moon or
There's a song,
Man of the Moon. It was the first science fiction film.
It's where that bullet hits the moon.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
The space gun.
Yeah.
The space gun.
Is it a space gun?
It's a space gun. Fucking Saddam Hussein was building a space gun.
Really? To go to the moon?
No, to get into space. The guy that was leading...
Oh, man, look, there's a dude out there, I'd have to look it up, but there's a dude out there that was always planning to shoot satellites. He was a Canadian, I believe.
Yeah.
Had the biggest Canon collection in human history.
Yeah.
He wanted to launch satellites via a gun.
I think it was a Canadian that was working for Saddam, and he got assassinated.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he got assassinated because he was building a fucking space gun.
Yeah, no, but look...
But 2001...
Did he get assassinated with the space gun?
He did not get assassinated with the fucking space gun.
No, well, they poisoned him or something?
Yeah, but 2001 has a definite soft spot in my heart.
Yeah, but look at the Lumiere brothers, right?
Yeah.
I know where you're going with that, because this is an imagination.
50 years difference.
Yeah. Like we're talking like the 19 teens, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Lumiere brothers make this film about going to the moon.
Yeah.
50 years later, they're going to the moon.
Yeah.
But just a year before that, 2001, and they're these dreams and aspirations of going to the moon. I suppose this is one of the things that it's a signifier for sci-fi. Sci-fi is the dream of humanity.
Yeah.
The Lumiere brothers and their story was it the Lumiere brothers? You sure it's the Lumiere brothers?
It's something like that.
Yeah, because I know they did they did all the train that was going into the theatre, because everyone thought that there was actually a train coming. Oh, well, that's the rumour. You don't know if it's true, but it's a cool story.
Yeah, of course.
People running out of a cinema because of that.
But the first film was them at the warehouse. And everybody was coming out of the warehouse, and then it was just like 30 seconds or a minute 30 seconds of footage of people coming out of the warehouse. Mm-hmm. And exactly the same thing. They go from people coming out of a warehouse to people coming out of a train and then shooting a cannon at the fucking moon.
Yeah, but they had the moon people. Remember? Because I remember this movie.
Yeah.
They had the moon people, and then they had to escape from the moon, and then they land in the ocean. I think that the profound part is that they do a splashdown, and the Apollo missions, they did exactly the same thing. They returned to the Earth by landing in the ocean.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah. But the thing is that you look at the reason why 2001, going back on track, the reason why 2001 was...
We digress.
Yeah, the reason why 2001 was a big thing was like the evolution of what the moon visualized. And that's sci-fi. Like you can go about sci-fi being like an ideal or a forecast or anything like that, but by the end of the day, to get the true idea of sci-fi across is visualization, whether that be with the mind's eye or whether that be visually, like
through cinematic effects.
Yeah, through print, whatever.
Because like 2001 was way ahead of its time.
Yeah,
like Kubrick got a Ferris wheel.
Yeah,
and he boarded it out and had it spinning as a running set.
And they did that 9 years ago with Inception. The exact same.
What's the name of the ship that turns? That's got a special name. It's like the same thing in Elysium. What do you call that?
Yeah. Well. So that's a
starts with a T.
No, it doesn't start with a T. It's not a Rin's World. It's a...
Because of all people, you would know this.
Yeah. I know. So...
Should we come back to it?
Yeah, well, so you got different types of worlds, and that's the problem. It's not a Rama.
What would you refer to it as in because you are...
Oh, it's a Niven ring. It's a Niven.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a Niven ring. It's a Niven ring.
Because you've referred to that, even though across different stories, it's still referred to as that.
Yeah. So for a ship, it's not referred to as a Niven ring. A Niven ring itself is a space installation which, using centripetal force, just like those ships, it has a whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
And the original Niven ring, written by Larry Niven, in a novel called Ringworld, is
it's pretty nerdy, man.
Yeah,
you're an exceptional man.
Yeah, is a ring that spans a couple of 100 kilometers across at 1 AU surrounding a star.
Oh, so what's that? An astronomical unit?
Yeah, the distance that the Earth is from the Sun.
Yeah.
From Sol.
Sol.
Yeah,
if you will.
SOL, Sol. So that's a Niven ring. So that's working on centripetal force.
Centrifugal.
No, not centrifugal.
No.
Centripetal.
Centripetal. What's the difference between the two?
So centrifugal force is the application of gravity that's being spun out, and centripetal force is like that spin is occurring on the outside rather than from the inside.
Oh, okay, I've got you.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so 2001 worked on a ship that was running on centripetal force, and the biggest character, and this is the biggest part, the biggest character for me for 2001. This is the reason why it's my one of two reasons why it's my biggest one of my biggest favorite science fiction films is one. The biggest character and the most important character of that film and written work by Arthur C. Clarke was the biggest character was not human. It was Hal. And who
wow.
He
that's an insane statement, man. Like, because you're saying that the computer was more humane.
Yeah, but that's something that's been said for years. Like that's
really?
Something that's been said since
it killed the whole crew.
Yeah, for the most humane reason.
It's a slasher film without the slashing.
Yeah, but for the most humane reason, because he wanted to exist.
But look, speaking of gravity on ships in space in sci-fi films, don't you always find it funny when there's the the mysterious gravity on the flatbed ship?
Don't even get me fucking started with that shit.
Because You know, I just find that weird. They have there's the special gravity force because that suspension of disbelief has to exist for budget, right? Because
you can't have a movie that doesn't have gravity. Otherwise, it gets you just bump up the prices.
And ironically, the movie that doesn't have gravity in it's called Gravity.
Yeah. And how much of that? And how much did that cost Alfonso Cuarón?
Yeah. So, just a sidetrack. I always find that funny in films.
Yeah.
But look, you can suspend that disbelief for look at Aliens, man. They do that.
Yeah.
Event Horizon, and
every science fiction film has to have like that element of artificial gravity, and then they have to have that moment of
space science fiction.
Well, they have to have that moment of like, there actually is no gravity in space, and they do like some EVA, and they pop out of a portcullis, and they pop around, and they be like, I've done my job, and everybody believes that it's, you're in space. But that's not how it works. Like, that's not how it works. You can't have a flatbed. You can't be on the back of a ute and be like, you know what? I'm just going to be able to hang here and be flex. Sick. I'm a cool guy. I'm a cool guy. Have you seen dogs on the back of a flatbed ute?
Yeah.
They do not have a good time.
Well, look.
All right, so 2001.
2001, right?
Second.
But look. I just got to ask you a question about 2001. Like, I understand. I can clearly see why you love the film.
But there's a second part of that. But go on.
The ending of that movie.
My second.
Come on, like,
and that is
one of the most ambiguous endings to a film. I've always tried to analyze it to figure out what does it mean. What does the end of Space Odyssey 2001 mean to you?
And that is my second favorite part of the film. The ambiguity. And the ambiguity of 2001 A Space Odyssey goes from the beginning to the fucking end, man. Like, at the beginning you have the proto-human race as they throw the bone up into the sky, and it turns into a space weapon. And the biggest jump cut in human film history goes from... you
seem to be salivating a little.
Yeah. Goes from an ape throwing a bone into the sky, and that bone turns into literally a space weapon.
It's been very well satired. Yeah.
And the ambiguity of that to the ambiguity of how much Hal is of a sentient being to the ambiguity of the Star Child, and that's what it's called. That's what the baby is called after he goes through the Stargate.
What do you mean by the Star Child? What is that about?
The Star Child is the being that is overlooking creation at the end of 2001.
So birth, rebirth sort of concept, or just birth concept?
It's ambiguous.
It's weird. It's fucking weird.
It's ambiguous.
It's fucking weird.
And that's my second point.
Like, seriously, if you haven't seen this movie, you've got to go out and see it clearly, but it's just a strange ending.
And that's my point, is the second reason why I love that film is the ambiguity.
All right. Well, okay, so that's your first
That's
cap.
my number
that's
one.
Your first cap off the ring. Well, give me number two. What's another? Well, perhaps not the second in precedence, but another of equal precedence.
Yeah. So the second one is actually a tie. It's a tie.
It's a tie?
It's a tie.
Oh, a tie between?
A tie between Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Good fucking movie, man.
Yeah. So Blade Runner, originally directed by Ridley Scott. Well, maybe it's a tie between three. Blade Runner, directed by Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
Blade Runner 2049, directed by Denis Villeneuve.
I was about to say, the new for a film to back onto itself
Absolutely.
like that, it's a very difficult thing to achieve.
Absolutely.
And I think the new Blade Runner is to not. It's pristine.
Yeah.
It's absolutely pristine.
The reason why Blade Runner 2049 was so good was because Denis Villeneuve, he grew up with Blade Runner, right? And Blade Runner was part of his genetics as a director of science fiction.
Yeah, I'm just crashing the joint.
And more importantly, he had taken the elements of Blade Runner, and he had taken that and using what he had. It's like going back in time. That's the best way of putting it. It's like going back in time.
So you're not seeing it as a retrofit. You're seeing it as a total perfect homage, or
a perfect homage. Like for 2049, seriously though, as a, it wasn't a remake. It was a sequel to a film that was made 30 years ago. Can you tell me of one film that could possibly measure up to Blade Runner 2049?
Oh man, that's a big question.
It's a big question. 30 years later.
Yeah, look, in the context of that movie, that's difficult to answer. Like in the context of movies in general, maybe Judge Dredd. The new Judge Dredd.
But that wasn't a sequel.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a reboot.
That's true. But I don't know. Do you have in relation to that into that universe? Do you have a problem with the time scale? Like, for instance, in the 80s when Back to the Future was made, 2015, and 2015 usually eventually ticks around, and everyone's like, no, there's no hoverboards, man. There's no flying cars. But we got social media.
I absolutely don't. I know exactly.
But the time scale in Blade Runner, you can see that it's a little bit
dated.
It's dated and grandioso. Like it's when it was the original came out, it kind of made sense because it was into the formidable future. Yeah, and now the future.
30 years later.
Now parts of the future have lost its
spark.
It's lost its spark. Like we know there's no hoverboards and we know that there's no flying cars. Do you think it was a wise move not to move that time scale to stay true?
It was the smartest decision to stick with that.
Yeah. But so it's your turn now.
Yeah, now it's mine. and the reason for that is because Denis Villeneuve had attacked that straight on, and in one of his interviews, and he was just like, "This is not the world. This is not the world that we live in. This is the world of Blade Runner." And purely the world of Blade Runner, when it was originally made, was a portmanteau of the world in the future. This is the way that we could possibly go. And Blade Runner 2049 was a reflection of that, keeping in mind that we're not in the Blade Runner universe. However, there's the reflections of it. And that's why you see in 2049. That's why you see this synthetic intelligences and these artificial intelligences and these natural intelligences all vying to exist. All vying to exist at the same time that there is a massive ecological disaster going on. At the same time, there's massive political and corporate wars being held.
Yeah, but this is a lot of that's in the visual language.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
It's not spoken.
Yeah, and that's the best part.
I think that's a big power of it.
And that's the beauty of Villeneuve, and that's a big part of Ridley when he made Blade Runner originally, and that's the exact same point. Villeneuve has channeled exactly what Ridley Scott had made 30 years ago. Yeah, whatever the fuck it was that Ridley Scott had channeled into 30 years ago, Villeneuve had tapped into. Yeah, exactly. That ore deposit that he had dug out of is exactly the same goddamn thing, because even though it is a complete departure from what we expect to be living in 30 years from now, it's based off the same universe. However, at the same time, it's
up another level.
It's an obvious reality.
Like an example that really comes to mind is the scene with Batista. Where he's a protein farmer,
100%,
and then he lands in there, and they end up in a surrealistic battle, but nonetheless that's something that has some punch and some reality to it. It has a really good suspension of disbelief in there. But then he's got the drone that's flying over the top that's doing x-rays to find the remains under the tree, and then he investigates why the tree is there and why that's important.
Did you see the?
I think that kind of detail in the way that was the way it's portrayed is it really grabs you in a really subconscious and conscious way.
Did you see the prequel short films to 2049?
No.
Incredible. Some of them were incredible, absolutely incredible.
Well, what's the insight to that? Why
There was one where it was, I think it was Benedict Wong. Benedict Wong. He was the guy in. I think it's Benedict Wong. I think that's it. I hope that's his name. He was the one that was in Sunshine. He was in Sunshine.
Another good movie.
Great film, but
another great movie.
Yeah, it's not in my top 3, but great nonetheless.
Great movie. Yeah, I really like that film.
He was the Asian guy in that. The one that
Oh yeah.
The one that killed himself in the end.
Yeah.
Benedict Wong, he was in Doctor Strange as well. You know, he was that Asian guy, sidekick.
Yeah, I haven't actually watched all of Doctor Strange. I haven't got into much of the Marvel universe. I've only just started to decide to get into it.
So in the short films, this actor, which is known for having like these grandiose characters, he had him in a fucking short film for 2049, like part of the advertisement.
Yeah,
like,
so it was just
like
promotions package.
No, it wasn't even a promotions package, man. Like it transcended promotions package. It was universe building. Like they definitely did not have to do it.
So concept driving,
absolutely
sparking
absolutely.
the idea.
It's almost as if you had gotten indie directors and indie writers to be like, "What do you think about this?" And
a bit of freedom back to the director, perhaps.
There is even an animated short film of the reason why the world of Blade Runner never went digital.
Okay.
So from Ridley Scott's, which was all analog, the reason why they didn't go digital, well, they actually did go digital, and the reason why they reverted back to analog in 2049.
Okay.
Which was a very important piece of concept short film that they released prior to the film, which was the idea that the replicants from the original Ridley Scott film, they started to get higher cognizance, and the world was becoming more digital, and they realized that if they were to bring it down so that way they could hide and they could meld and they could fucking live, was to destroy that digital world that the humanity was living in. So they did that.
Yeah,
they achieved that.
Yeah, so you take away that digital augmentation and move to an analog one.
And that's why 2049, there is still people in hiding. Rather than all of it being regulated, there's still people in hiding because of that.
Oh, look, just to mention Blade Runner, though, something that just sprung to mind is Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer. Oh, yeah.
A dude that transcends across genres, man.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
I just love that guy.
Like Tears in the Rain.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get... As far as writing goes...
I believe some of that was ad-lib, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, 100%. Like, he went from talking about... Watching stars explode to wars on
starships,
on starships and on moons, to talking about Tears in the Rain in one small monologue. Like Rutger Hauer, man.
Yeah.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
One of those insane dudes that's just awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so look, we've nailed down two.
No. Well, hold up.
Oh, you're
there was a tie.
You're not done.
It was a tie. Yeah.
So you're counting these two as one.
So yeah, I'm counting 2049. I'm calling Blade Runner in general. I'm calling
Blade Runner is in
synonymous.
It's synonymous with 2001. All right.
No. So 2001 was number.
No. Blade Runner. Yeah, no. Blade Runner in general is fine.
Blade Runner in 2049. You know, they are tied with Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell.
They're tied with Ghost in the Shell and Ghost in the Shell Innocence.
Ghost in the Shell Innocence definitely takes it up a bar.
So Mamoru Oshii had made Ghost in the Shell back in the 90s. And
do you know that they've done the Ghost in the Shell
live action? Yeah, I'm very well aware of that.
Not just the live action, but before the live action, they redone the animation.
I'm well aware of that.
So my question to you about, just before we go into Ghost in the Shell, is a real service question: is what do you prefer? Do you prefer the older Ghost in the Shell Part 1 versus the revamped Ghost in the Shell Part 1?
I don't think it's a question of preference.
What do you think? Why did they do that?
I think it was important that they did that.
Why was that important? I just found it futile.
No. I respect both of them. I respect both of them for the reason that the original was the perfect pinnacle of animation in the 90s, like in terms of Japanese animation. And the new one was important. I find it important for the fact that it was a reintroduction. That's the best way I can put it. A reintroduction into the animation that we loved. It wasn't a reboot. It wasn't a redux. It was just an update. It was an update. It was like a patch update.
I'm just very affectionate with the original, though. It's one of those things. Like, don't get me wrong. Innocence is a step up. From Ghost in the Shell. No, actually, not even a step up. It's a continuation.
Yeah,
of something that's very cool.
I think the big tying factor for me for really liking the what do you call it? The director's cut? What is it? The new one? What's the new one called?
Oh, not the live action?
Not the live action. The original Ghost in the Shell, the one that was redone. Is that just 2.0? Let's just call it 2.0.
Oh no, it is. It is actually called 2.0.
Yeah, so 2.0. One of the big things that I respect.
Because that's why you watch it, because you go, oh, is this another Ghost in the Shell? And you find out, oh, it's just the original Ghost in the Shell. Yeah.
So the big thing that I respected a lot with 2.0 was they took one of the voice actors of Innocence and used her as the voice for the Puppet Master.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was the same voice actor. And the idea behind that... So it's almost as though you had the original film, you had the sequel, and then all of a sudden you went from the sequel back to the original film. And the thing that I loved about that, like, it was like coming back to your roots. They went to the sequel. They had this fantastic voice actress, like absolutely fantastic. It was the Doctor
the one that she
in Innocence.
She pops her eyes out.
Pops her eyes out, and she's all crazy, and you think that she's like
the robot that smokes.
Yeah, the robot that smokes.
Yeah.
She was the voice of the Puppet Master, and which is in my point of view the perfect link between the two, because you didn't have the link of the Puppet Master, who was a central character to the Ghost in the Shell mythos, to Innocence. What's the best way of having it? The ambiguity between the Puppet Master and these humans that now exist that are melded in between it, and especially someone that is in this almost mundane but at the same time important role. I thought that was important. I thought that was a very, very cool link.
Out of Ghost in the Shell, though, the first one, there's what the Major says at the end. What is it? The internet is extreme and infinite.
Extreme and infinite.
Yeah. I just love that. Love that. And then that's the assimilation. She goes into... She is the machine in the machine.
Yeah.
And then...
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
God out of the machine. And that's what she becomes. There's a scene in Innocence where, as Barto is walking through the mansion on the lake... he comes across a statue which says Homo a Machina, human out of the machine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I've used that in some of my own writings, just due to the goddamn simplicity of it, like the human out of the machine.
Well, look, a sidetrack from that. Look, let me sidetrack for a second. Like, I'm going to come back to sci-fi for a second, but now you've just sparked something in me.
Yeah.
Because I've made a couple of movies with you before.
Yeah.
Do you remember going out to Cobar?
I do remember going out to Cobar.
And we went out to Cobar in the desert.
Yeah.
To shoot a revenge fantasy.
Yeah.
With a guy... Sammy, if you're out there, big shout out. But you do have a strange accent. You were the hardest ADR I've ever had to do.
Sammy, I still hate you for that Land Cruiser incident.
Okay, so do you want to tell the story about how me and you were making a movie out in the desert, and perhaps I trusted our actor too much to drive. Do you want to tell us that story?
Sam, you schmuck.
I love you, Sam.
I love you, Sam. He's
doing quite well, actually.
He has been. I've seen him in the Macca's ads.
I've seen him in Pepsi ads, man. He's doing all right. He's doing very well.
So we had done the red in the. The red started off as it was a scene. The red started off as a scene. The scene was red dust being kicked up by a car tire as they're chasing down a person, a victim And eventually they catch up to this person, and the driver of the car gets out, and on this backdrop of nothingness, this driver bludgeons the victim to death with a hammer.
Yeah, that's right.
Against Red Desert.
Right. I do. He beats him to death with a hammer.
That's how it started. That's how it started.
And there's also a torture scene.
There's also a torture scene, but the torture scene was part of it, but it wasn't the forefront.
No, not at all.
Yeah, all I wanted out of the film was that goddamn fucking chase scene, which I got.
You did get it. But look, speaking of the chase scene.
Yeah.
Okay, so actor is in Land Cruiser that you've borrowed off
Actor is in Land Cruiser, and then
because you borrowed this Land Cruiser off a mate.
I borrowed the Land Cruiser off a mate.
And it's a long weekend.
Lewis.
It's a long weekend.
Yeah, Lewis. I doubt you're ever going to watch this, but Lewis, it was your Land Cruiser, which caused a lot of dramas after this whole incident. Yeah, but we were, it all got sorted out.
It did get sorted out.
It all got sorted out.
Yeah, we look.
But
let's go to the start.
Let's
go to the start of this
the
incident.
But the driver was an actor that hadn't really driven manual before.
Yeah,
He'd
that's
never
right.
driven manual.
Because we had a scene. We had to drive this car towards a guy being chased who's just been tortured, who's bleeding from most of his orifices.
Yeah,
running down this desert track.
Yeah.
Being chased by a Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've shot that scene, and now we need to do another scene. We need to do a relocal and do a U-turn.
Yeah, and he's going to do this U-turn, and the thing is when we were shooting this part of the film, we were in the middle of this cotton field. And they had
it was on a farm.
Yeah, it was on a farm, but it was a cotton field. That was their thing. They were doing cotton. And the cotton fields had just been harvested, so all that was left was soft dirt. And the actor Sam, I hate you for this.
We still love you, Sam.
I love you. He'd gone to do a Yui. He had gone too far. He reversed too far into this field, and he got the car goddamn fucking bogged in the middle of back of Burke. Literally the back of Burke. Literally the back of Burke. He got in this car,
bogged to the axles
in the back of Burke, and commenced. What was it? 10 hours.
Okay. So because I was directing this movie, and I got to say it was a little bit stressful. But
yeah, for a short film,
for a short film it was, because it was a long weekend. Do you know how hard it is to get a tow truck driver out to the middle of nowhere on a farm to go and pick up your car?
And as a producer, do you know how much it costs?
Yeah, and as someone that's should we double the water? Yes, and we're doubling the water. We had big shout out to Ian, actually.
Yeah,
big shout out to Ian. We've missed you, buddy. Absolutely diamond in the rough. Ian. And
didn't really know him at the beginning of the whole escapade.
No, but he came out, done the sound design, and we did some arduous work on that film, man. When we were doing the night shoot, it was 3 a.m. before we knocked off. We started at 4 a.m.
Yeah,
I remember we had to drive back, and we ended up sleeping on the side of the road. It was
no, you didn't.
I didn't. I drove all the way back, and
you drove all the way back, and I had a full car with me. It was only you and Jimmy that made it all the way back to town.
Yeah, that's right. I ended up calling hospitals looking for you.
Yeah, it was myself and 3 other people.
Terrifying.
And we got out. This was my situation. We were driving back to town, and all of a sudden I was driving. Everybody else was asleep, and it was like an hour, 2 hours from where we were filming back to base, and we were driving back, and then all of a sudden I remember driving on dirt. I remember driving on the road, country road, and then all of a sudden I was in the middle of the QVB, and there was Pokemon missing, not missing numbers. It looked like alphabet soup. These Pokemon flying overhead And then all of a sudden, all these kangaroos started jumping through QVB. I was like, oh, that's not right. And then I like, boom, snapped back to reality. And I was in a mob of hundreds of kangaroos jumping across the road. I've slammed on the brakes. Everybody's like woken up. They're like, oh my God, I'm about to die.
We're gonna die.
Oh my God, I'm about to die. And then we're surrounded by hundreds of kangaroos.
You didn't tell me this part of the story.
Yeah.
You've never told me this part of the
Yeah,
story.
well, welcome to what happened.
Welcome to reality.
Yeah.
All right. I was stressing about these guys.
Yeah. We almost died. We almost goddamn died. We could have actually ended up at a hospital, but we
Well, they weren't there. I rang there.
Yeah. He was very sweet. So we got caught up in this mob of kangaroos, and I've turned to everybody, like I've stopped in the middle of the road in this country, fucking nowhere, hundreds of kangaroos bounding around us, and I've just turned to everybody, and they're just like, I can't believe you just skipped all that. I'm like, I don't understand what just happened. And I've just turned to them and gone, look, we cannot keep driving. They're like, yep. I understand.
Fair enough.
I understand. We've done 24 hours of a shoot.
Oh man, we milked that shoot, and a big shout out to Ben and his boy.
Oh my God.
Ben did a really good job. He'd never acted before that.
Yeah.
He did a really good job.
Yeah.
And we did the torture scene, the escape scene. Man, it was look, man, it was an absolute hoot.
Oh my God.
It was an absolute hoot. But man, running gun, loose script. But we good acting, got it done. The post was a process, because we were quite new as filmmakers back.
Yeah, but the thing was I've never been a writer of characters. I've been a writer of settings. Which you and I have always butted heads against.
That's true.
Every single time, because you'll have like a character focus, and I'll have like a setting focus. And
both need to be established.
Yeah, absolutely. And whenever we have, regardless of what project we've been working on, or story, like even things that don't even make it to screen, like my stories that I write, or
that's true, man.
or your scripts that haven't made it.
Plenty of them.
Yeah, like you will have like this character focus, and I'll have like this setting focus. It will always butt heads, but even though in the end, there's been plenty of times where the proceeds just be in the middle, and it might not make anything out of it, but we get this wavelength going on.
Well, what about that other film that we did together, The Climb?
Don't talk about that.
Why don't you want to talk about The Climb?
That was total art wank.
Yeah, it was art wank, but like I remember getting through a bottle of Jack Daniels, and lugging a quarter of a ton of equipment across embankment after embankment after embankment.
You know what?
I think it was all my fault.
Yeah.
It was totally my fault.
The climb was fun. The climb was fun.
But look, a big shout out to Matt. We ran. It was like, I don't know what time of the morning it was. About 8 a.m. We had him. Was it 10? Maybe it was winter.
Yeah,
it was winter. We had him walking through a river. Yeah. Poor guy. He did a good job though.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He complained the entire way.
The climb was.
But we did put him through the river.
Yeah, the climb was. I think for you and me both was like a big learning experience in terms of like it was a big exercise. It was a big exercise in technique.
Yeah, true. And because we had very little resources. Yeah, very little resources.
Yeah. It was
not very little.
No. We were working on minimal.
Yeah.
It was a four-man crew.
4-man crew, two actors, but
and the actors were working as crew.
Yeah, but we did the ADR. Do you remember the ADR?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the ADR under the umbrella.
Yeah.
ADR under an umbrella. Look, a tip for people doing ADR: if you don't have a good space to do it, get an umbrella, put some towels over the top of it, set up your sound recording, have your vision in front of you. It can be done.
Absolutely.
And we did.
Absolutely.
And we got it done.
Absolutely.
But we've digressed. Let me take you back to sci-fi. Can I take you back to sci-fi?
So,
now that I've got some juicy stories about filmmaking in Western Sydney.
Yeah.
Let me take you back to, you got your three canons, right? So you've got 2001. You've got Blade Runner.
But
and
Blade
you've got
Runner,
Ghost in the Shell.
Blade Runner was tied with Ghost in the Shell, so that's two. There's
two.
There's my two categories.
Capitalising on it.
You're trying to get your money's worth. You got to get your money's worth.
Well, you are like man. Don't get me wrong. I'm a sci-fi buff, just like anyone else. But you seem to take it to another level. I know a few guys and gals out there that take it to another level, and you are definitely one of those dudes.
Well, you better fucking hold on to your cap, son.
Hold on to your shit. Oh, look, no,
get ready.
Spun me out. Okay, you've spun me out before. You've spun me out plenty of times before. Right. Look. And speaking of which, like, if I've ever felt depressed, all I do is go to your Facebook page and I go into your photos.
Oh, honey bun. 2
minutes of scrolling.
Honey bun.
Solution to depression. You make people laugh. The videos that you put out every year for your Christmas cheer.
Oh, thanks, Ross.
The photographs that you give us of the insane situations that you put yourself in.
When have I ever been in one of those?
You gave me a photograph last year of you dressed as a monk.
It did happen.
But I've also seen you as a Thai hooker.
That has also happened.
You know, you just bring smiles to people's faces. Is my point.
Oh, honey bun.
But look, darling.
Number 3,
sci-fi. Number 3.
Look, number 3 is not a number 3 is not a film. It is purely a novel.
Oh, like we're talking about what is it? Star Maker.
Yeah,
see, this is where you've spun me out before, man, because you've given me these books before. I've only ever skimmed through them.
Yeah.
I've always been too lazy to read these bloody things.
Yeah, it's only one book.
No, you've given me 2 books. One was Star Maker and... what was the other one?
Oh, the other one was Songs of Distant Earth.
Yeah, okay. But look, just skimming through Star Maker, well, this is some trippy shit, man. This is some, like... deep DMT fucking shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, what I've never fully understood it.
Yeah.
Run me through Star Maker, man.
So Star Maker was written by Olaf Stapledon in the
what's his name again?
Olaf Stapledon.
That's a person?
Yeah, that's a human being.
What nationality is this person?
He was living in Britain at the time that he wrote it.
What's his name again?
Olaf Stapledon.
What do you call him for short? Oli?
Big O.
Big O?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
The Big O. OJ.
I'm sorry, Olaf Stapledon. You have a funny name.
I don't think he's going to really mind because he's dead.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, don't haunt me.
Yeah.
Like, jeez, man. Like,
when you're a person that's born in the 1800s, you don't really give a shit.
So this is from the 1800s?
No. He was born in the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
And he wrote...
when did Star Maker come out?
So he wrote Star Maker in the 1910s? 1910s, I think it was.
So pre-World War One.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
During World War One, post World War One.
Around the time.
Okay, we can't confirm or disconfirm that. So around either it's the early 1900s.
Yeah. Between 1909 and 1916. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, okay. Well, the point being, Matthew.
So, Olaf Stapledon at the time.
Olaf Stapledon, I just can't get over it.
So Star Maker. The best part is Star Maker doesn't.
Why is Star Maker cool?
Star Maker is cool because Olaf Stapledon never regarded himself as a science fiction writer, right? He was...
But he's a writer, though.
He was a writer, but he liked to look at forecasting ideals. Nowadays, you would call that science fiction, but for him, back then, the quality of science fiction that was being pumped out was space pulp.
But we had Jules Verne though, right?
Yeah, Jules Verne, but at the same time, like you when you compare Jules Verne to Olaf Stapledon, it's not comparable. Olaf Stapledon had went for a completely a philosophical route. It was almost as if you're reading the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri.
Okay, well,
Back from the 1300s.
Jeez, all right. Look, well, I guess Star Maker. What's the premise of it? Are we talking like civilizations on different planets? Are we talking about traveling galactically between galaxies? Or are we talking about interstellar space? What are we talking about here?
So Olaf Stapledon, his Star Maker, at no point do they does Stapledon say the word alien.
Okay.
In the entirety of the novel, at no point does he say alien. The way he regards to other life is other men.
Okay.
Because back then it was you regard to the human race as man.
But what's the interpretation? Is the interpretation that there are other civilizations in the galaxy?
Absolutely.
In the galaxy?
Beyond that.
And beyond.
Beyond that.
And how do these civilizations talk to each other?
So Star Maker begins with simply a man who is desensitized with life walks onto a hill. And he walks on top of a hill and he looks out into the stars and he looks upon them for an age. And as he looks upon them for an age, his consciousness shoots forth and enters the cosmos.
Yeah.
Until he finds somebody of similar consciousness. And he finds this other man.
This is fucking deep, man.
Yeah. So he finds this other man, and this other man's culture, this other man's species is very similar to ours, except for them, they're more olfactory rather than visual. So they're pheromones and everything like that. And he meets with them. And he was Stapledon was the first to discuss virtual reality.
Okay.
And it was the first
what
part
you mean,
of the book.
like a cyberspace kind of concept?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this original man, the man that went onto the hill, he's made communication with, he's communed with this other man, as we discussed before, this alien consciousness.
This other.
Yeah. So he's communed with this like-minded consciousness.
Yeah, someone who's
from this other species.
But consciously aware.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
So he's made commune with this man, and they've together transcended their mortal bounds, and they've been able to look upon this other man's culture through the time.
Alien, another civilizations. Yeah. Okay.
As they go through time, like they've at this point, as they've done that, they've been able to transcend time, and they've been able to watch it from where he was when he melded with him to the point where the civilization dies. And the way that the civilization dies is that they all go into effectively this this cathartic period where they all enter this virtual reality.
What? So they download their consciousness into that
to a degree, yeah. And you got to remember this is written.
So they transfer their consciousness.
Yeah, and you got to remember this is written in the 19 zeros to the 1910s.
1910s, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you got to remember this was written over 100 years ago, and this guy was on the goddamn money with virtual reality.
Well, so look, it's interesting that you say that, because like linking 2001 Space Odyssey to the forecast of Man on the Moon to what we speculate as the Lumiere brothers. Is it? I think it might have been the Marvelous. Was it the French fellow Marvelous?
Oh God damn!
Marcel Marvelous.
I can't remember.
He was
his
a
name.
magician that. Brought magic to the screen.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's one of the two, but I guess the main point that we're drawing out of it is, like, if we have an inaccuracy about who's done that, but the reality is that Man on the Moon is about the forecast about human endeavour.
Yeah.
And to get to Space Odyssey 2001 is a dream of an endeavour. Yeah. And looking at Star Maker back then, Is that a hard shoe to put on?
Well, you got to remember when Man on the Moon was being produced or being filmed and being shown, Star Maker was being produced. Like he had written Star Maker, like it had come out at about the same time.
Okay.
About the same time, yeah. And Stapleton had devised this caricature of several different type of men, if you will.
Aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But different type of men, different type of species.
As in different kind.
Different kind.
But men.
Different kind. Like, you know, it was people.
Humankind, but now not our humankind.
It's another word of using people. He had communed with other people.
Yeah.
So at the same time,
But is that in the guise to be equal?
yeah,
Is that why he's worded it that way?
but the way that he,
well, one can speculate.
yeah, very socialist. But the way that he got to that point was a build up. So it started off with the man that was very similar to his, but instead of being visual, they were olfactory, which is like it's not that much of a short gap, a long gap. It's quite short. And so their civilization dies. This other man's. Their civilization dies due to the fact that they all enter this self-sterilization. The main character of Star Maker, which is an evolving character, he made contact with this other man, and he had to experience the other man's point of view to be able to continuously evolve the consciousness. So the two of them together were able to transcend the linear timescale that we're part of, and they were be able to go from the front to the back of their species, the other man's species, that is. And
so they could affect the time?
No, and then didn't affect the time.
History?
They were watching it. They were observers.
Okay, so they could only study their history.
Absolutely, a study from it to be able to expand their consciousness as a for the two of them as a collective. And they realized that this a technological sterilization that was occurring in this other man's species was the people of this other man entered this period where they all died. The majority of them all died because they entered this virtual reality. And you got to remember, this is the early 1900s this was written. And they had entered this virtual reality, and no one was willing to exit out of it except for a very small few. And the very small few that were left were scientists and what do you call them? Archaeologists. You know, geologists.
Geologists.
Yeah. And so these archaeologists had found through millennia of sediment the same sort of technology that they had reached at the present point.
Okay, so what you're saying is that they were able to examine a point of the galaxy.
No.
A point of the universe.
No. These other men, this is the way that the story starts, and this is a very important part about Star Maker, is that the people realized, the people that were left over, the archaeologists, went through the sediment, and then they had found technology that was almost identical to the ones that they had currently.
So the suggestion is that they were always going to evolve to that point.
What has happened again.
Happened before, and by that suggestion, it's lapped on top of each other. What's happened before has happened before. What's happened before.
Yep.
So a fractal sort of look at it.
They've always looped back onto this development.
It's a very
pessimistic
Battlestar Galactica.
It is
sort of story.
100%.
Because
100%.
Battlestar Galactica sort of adopts.
Absolutely.
Obviously is adopted.
And that's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. And this was written now over 100 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
So-
well, look, speaking about Battlestar Galactica, have you actually watched all of Battlestar Galactica?
I have. I actually rewatched it recently.
Have you done the original?
I've watched a lot of the original. Haven't finished a lot of the original.
That's intense. I've only gone through about half of the original.
Yeah.
But
It's difficult. It's difficult to watch.
Oh, but the modern one, like, how many series is the modern?
Is it 4 series? Is it 4 seasons?
Nah, it's longer than that.
No.
It's like 8, 9.
No, that's wrong. I'm
doing
sorry, it's
They're
wrong.
doing 2 seasons a year.
Because you had the first season where they
On the run.
found Kobol
Yeah.
at the end. They found Kobol. The second one was they left Kobol. The third one was that they were on the run again, and the fourth one ended with them finding Earth.
Yeah, well, that's right, because it was the Watchtower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Well, the Watchtower happened in the second season.
Yeah, so it was the Watchtower tune that was the code to get
and
back.
which relates back to and that's an important theme, Ryan, in science fiction, and that goes back to Star Maker.
Yeah.
Is the idea of rebirth, which is always when you meet these profound science fiction stories, they always have this ideal of rebirth. And Star Maker, the first person that the protagonist, you never find out his name. He had met the first man, and theirs was a story of death and rebirth, but it was a continuous cycle that they would never exit out of.
Okay.
And so the two of them, after learning this, went onwards. They went onwards. That's the best way of putting it. The best way of saying it. They went onwards. Consciously as beings,
Okay.
to find someone of a similar state, but now that they had amalgamated their experiences, they were a collective being, and so they were trying to find and they found someone of a similar state, and they did that several times in the story. And
Well, they were searching for different civilizations.
yeah, but each time that they found someone, their conscious state or their conscious state evolved. So from a man in England on a hill, he had amalgamated his consciousness with an other man of different sensory application. And then they had expanded upon that to be someone of to meet someone of a more advanced, or not more advanced, a more spectrum wide.
Someone that they could
consciousness.
assimilate with, someone they could relate to.
So every single time that they've done this, and they did this several times that they would just continuously expand upon their consciousness as a collective, and then they would find someone that was close to that, and then they would expand even more.
Well, look, coming back to the forecast of the future.
Yeah.
Because if you look at sci-fi, it's the dreams of humankind to advance further. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, if you look at Star Trek, for instance, they have what is a mobile phone where they can talk to people in different proximities. We're certainly not at the stage where we're doing interstellar travel or even beaming people up into space.
Yeah.
I think one ironic thing is that we didn't predict social media and how that was going to work.
Yeah.
But I guess to get more to the point, like with Star Maker, like is it I guess the romantic side of it.
The romantic side.
Do you ever think that we will get over our own, like, deep existential question? Do you think we'll ever get over our own assured destruction, whether it's through warfare, through climate change, to actually start colonizing the moon, to start colonizing
I do.
Mars?
Yeah,
Do
I do.
you think at one point perhaps we might even leave our own solar system to go and look at other planets.
I do.
Because I see the romantic side of that, and if you look at between sci-fi and science itself, like we're looking through Kepler, we're looking at.
We're not just looking for Kepler. Well, Kepler's gone. What we're looking for now is TESS. We're looking through. Eventually, we're going to get onto the moon, and we're going to be looking at lensing technologies.
Yeah, look, but I guess just to get to the point, I guess we've discovered Earth-like planets.
Yeah, well,
that are in the.
We haven't found Earth-like planets yet. We've found planets which are
that fit that category.
No, well, they're planets which might be Earth-like. They might be Earth-like, just the same way that Venus is Earth-like. Venus is more colonized.
But they have narrowed the scope, and in fact, it's been put out to citizen scientists to look at this data to figure out the spectrum of the Goldilocks zone / rocky bodies that are possibly Earth in nature.
Yeah. So there's an issue.
They found one close to Proxima Centauri, which is 4 light years away. They found what they claim through
Alpha Centauri. And Proxima Centauri is the third star, which has highly elliptical orbit.
It's Alpha Centauri. There's a planet that's orbiting that star that is Earth-like, and I don't know. I'd like to romanticize and think about the sci-fi in that science. Yeah, because I think that's a part of it. Like we have science and dreams for the future. But I don't know. I think writing a story about going to Proxima Centauri or Alpha Centauri is a cool idea. We need some more sci-fi writers out there.
Yeah. Well, look, Star Maker. I'll finish off Star Maker, and then I'll go on to talking about Alpha Centauri in a moment. Star Maker ends effectively with a culminated mass of consciousness. And they have these ideals. They have these ideals of expanding their knowledge, and that's the reason why they're amalgamating, and to the point where it's these beings which are singular, like you and myself, that are just amalgamating to
individual consciousness rather than a collective.
Yeah. So it starts off as individual collectiveness to then a collective.
A sentient.
Yeah, a sentient collective. And then they start to communicate not just with individuals, but with entire species. And they go from that, from species, after several iterations, to discussing themselves with stars.
Well, look,
and then from stars...
this has been talked about in the scientific community.
And then from stars...
If you can harness the energy of a star, you're at this civilization level. If you can harness the energy of a galaxy, you're at this civilization.
Well, it goes beyond that. Like, it even goes beyond that. Like, this is a story that was written over 100 years ago.
Yeah, I know, but to go beyond that, that's
and this is where I'm getting at.
That's a hell of a trip.
And then it goes from the idea of just not consciousness melding with the consciousness of a star. And eventually they have enough of a collective of many stars attributing to this consciousness that they're able to communicate it as a galaxy, to the point that they're able to communicate as a universe. And then the universe then decides to, as a collective, talk to God. They didn't discuss it as God. God, the Star Maker. They talk to the Star Maker, and
so that's hence the title.
Hence the title. Okay. They go to reach, like Icarus, speak to the Star Maker, and as they reach that pinnacle, they're struck down.
Wow.
The Star Maker himself strikes them down.
Too much info.
No, not even that. The Star Maker looks upon them and goes, "You're not ready.
You're not in that league.
You are not on this scale."
Man, that is an intensely deep story.
Yeah.
You've inspired me to go check it out.
Written over 100 years ago.
Does sci-fi have a positive effect on the outlook and how we look at things, or is it all going to be, doom and gloom? Is it all going to be apocalyptic, because a lot of art that's coming out like that now is like that now.
You have negative and positive sci-fi, and I'm a big believer of positive sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
And positive sci-fi, science fiction has existed for over 100 years. And positive sci-fi has this outlook of beauty, and that's the best way I can put it, is beauty. Mm-hmm. Negative sci-fi is your 1984s, and
your Orson
your
Welles and
your Soylent Greens, and your Soylent Green. Soylent Green was the last film that made me cry.
But a lot of what's going on at the moment makes you feel that way, the way that things are being turned into a police state and whatnot. But look,
the best example of science fiction come reality was an experience I had today. Mm-hmm. So I've been in Sydney for now a couple of days, and one of the things...
As I said, I wanted to get you as a guest in December because I know that you're out of town, and now you're just in short notice.
Yeah,
so.
but...
snap Matt up more easy.
But one of the things today that really captured me is that we're now living in a sci-fi. Right. I was having a cigarette at a shopping centre. Like I was at a shopping centre and I was like, Rouse Hill, and shout out to Rouse Hill, and
go Rouse Hill,
and Rouse Hill, in the last couple of years, has been building its infrastructure in line with the rest of New South Wales, Sydney region. And I was about to catch a train because I wanted to experience the new train line that they had.
Yeah, no, they've recently put that.
Yeah. So as I was having a cigarette, waiting in some different part of the shopping centre.
Infrastructure that's happening in New South Wales these days.
Thank you, Liberal Party. Anyway,
we won't get into that.
No. As I was having a cigarette, I've seen
He is a Queenslander, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen. Now I am. I've seen two police motorcycles go past, and each of them sounded exactly like the vehicles from Back to the Future. Back to the Future, yeah. Both of them sounded exactly like Back to the Future. I was like,
so you got your sci-fi hard on.
Well, it wasn't just that. It wasn't just that. So I've then heard like the futuristic motorbikes go past. Mm-hmm. I've then gone to the train station. Which, might I add, the escalator was slow moving, and as soon as weight was applied to it, as a person was applied to it, it would speed up.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was one thing that really got me.
Oh, look, man, the Victorian coppers at the moment, they've got a Tesla.
Yeah, they do.
They've got a Tesla, man, which is the fastest cop car in Australia.
Yeah. So,
but Pete, there may be some people out there that say that we might be robbing your weekend away because we want to go to electric cars, but we've got this Tesla out there that's cutting some rug.
Well, we're on
Perhaps it's another episode, Matt.
We're not in a position as manufacturers to be able to look into that. And that is a different conversation.
Yeah, totally.
And the other part is I've gotten to the top of these. I finally got onto the train station, and the trains were automated. Automated trains.
Driverless.
Yeah, driverless trains. But the thing that was most striking was that the entire side of the station that was facing the tracks was made of glass.
Yeah, that's right, because it has to perfectly line up for the doors to open up.
So these automated trains...
So you can't get on the track from the platform, not like we normally used to.
Yeah, so these automated trains line up completely with these automatic doors, which is...
Well, it didn't work on the first day, but... after that, it started working. You're going to get bugs in the system.
It worked today. I can guarantee you that. It worked today.
Yeah.
And it struck me. It struck me for the sheer fact that we are living now in the
future.
We are.
I have that feeling when I'm walking through the CBD in Sydney. I just look around and go in an amazement. Like, this is amazing.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just amazing what's going on. But look, Matt, I've got to bring it to an end. I love you. I love you.
I've hated this entire experience.
Look, it's just an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for being a part of the Pagey train. Brought
Thank
to you
you for having
by Still Searching Productions. But look, when you come back in December, I'd love to have you back. And you look,
I'll be happy to.
Have you got any shout outs you want to say? You want to say hello to anyone out of the 20 people that are listening?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, if you're listening to this, you're my shout out.
Yeah. All right. There you go. A shout out to those that are listening. So, thank you very much for joining the Pagey train. I have certainly enjoyed having a few drinks with you tonight. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you, Matt. And I look forward to talking to you in the future. And thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.